to another edition of UpFront Takes. There he is, all excited already. Got another classic member, an OG of the Stony Brook Club baseball team. But Malcolm, give yourself an introduction to the crowd.
Well, I was telling you off camera, off mic. This is really me splashing onto the scene of being a multimedia superstar. It's an important 10 minutes for me. But no, I'm very, very glad to be here, Dan. So listen, what can I do for you? How can I make you and I famous sports personalities?
Well, it would be nice for me to get some sort of employment out of this, but you know what? Let's get some eyes on this first before we worry about that. But for those who don't know, Malcolm, avid Yankee fan, avid baseball fan. Let's talk about what's going on. You had the Yankees bring back DJ LeMahieu, the big right-handed bat. Your thoughts on that?
Am I supposed to be excited about that? Seriously.
That's why I'm asking you though, because I know a lot of Yankee fans were happy, but to me, I sort of see it as like he was already on your team last year.
Yeah.
So you
mean you're retaining your best player?
Exactly.
It is weird, maybe they want a standing ovation for retaining their best player, and really more existential. Because I know the next question you're going to ask me about is Kluber. We are at a crossroads in New York sports now, where the Mets are going to begin commanding the kind of variable audience who's in the middle, the go with the wind New York sports fan for the first time in how long? In your entire life, has the Mets been the primary team in New York? No, of course not.
No. Not since like our parents were our ages.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's my mother remembers the '86. Yeah. So no, it's a really interesting transitional time for New York sports and New York baseball. But no, DJ LeMahieu, of course. I mean, you brought back your best player, and for some reason, I want to know do you know off the top of your head who DJ's, who his agent is?
Probably Scott Boras, I'm gonna guess.
Can't be a Boris client if they're giving out 6 years, $90 million. You're gonna watch George
the
same thing for $150. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, either him or I think like Wasserman Sports or maybe Brody Van Wagenen's old employment at CAA.
Maybe Brody pitched a EQE or something, and he's starting to give out advice again. No, so listen, it's a team-friendly deal. Very happy about it. He's your best player. You got to stick him back in. I mean, and we're going to talk. I guess we're going to go around the AL East, but I'll tell you now. The Yankees' biggest problem is they don't make contact, right? You see them in the playoffs. They strike out 18, 19 times a game. They don't make contact.
Hey, you saw it in the playoffs, too. Last year, the big hit they got, Brad Hand, that was LeMahieu. The home run off of Ozuna a couple years ago, that was LeMahieu.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, you'll never hear me disparage him, but I mean, I'm thrilled we're bringing him back. But it doesn't change the fact that this team is just woefully hampered by right-handed swing and miss bats in positions like first base where you shouldn't have a right hand. Like, you got a guy like Mike Ford on the roster, right? As much as I like our husky right-handed swing and miss hitters, you got to get rid of Luke Voigt. You got to trade Luke Voigt and clear a path and let Ford break up a lineup in the middle. So I don't know. And you asked me about LeMahieu, I'm happy, but it's more of the same. What's going to happen? They're going to win 97 games. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to blow out the Twins in the first round. They're going to light up. Okay, I'll look forward to that. That's a great matchup.
That is a good matchup with all those right-handed hitters.
Okay, but then what's going to happen? We're going to run into one of these buzzsaw lineups, and we're going to strike out 19 times, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and they got Corey Kluber to go along with that. I sort of see it in the same boat as your reaction is to LeMahieu, where maybe 4 years ago it would be nice to bring this guy in, but you're playing. It's a crapshoot with everyone who isn't named Garrett Cole.
Give me Corey Kluber from 2014, and you'll see a much different reaction. No, well, here's the thing. I'm of the belief that Tanaka's shot. Okay, don't ask me for the metrics to necessarily support that, but I'm of the belief that he's shot. So aside from bringing him back on a 1-year deal for a couple million, I think he's going to get paid more in Japan. He needs the smaller ball. The splitters float. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're a good hitter, I should say. But you know what I mean? Like, he's just he's not what he used to be. But no, listen, Kluber's going to, I think, the rest and frankly the injury. We see guys who are as good as, because let's be honest, Corey Kluber was like an elite.
Yeah.
So we've seen guys like him take a couple years off with the injury, have the surgery that he had, and come back and listen on a 1-year deal on a flyer again. Congratulations, good job there as a purchase. But it's just odd seeing us shopping in the discount aisle with a guy like Trevor Bauer. You should get Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole in a room, tell them to kiss and make up and forget whatever issues they had right? Because isn't that the problem?
Well, the kissing and making up might be a little against Trevor Bauer's morals a little bit, but but you know what I'm saying. But no, I see what you're saying. It feels like it's been like a flip-flop season. It's been kind of like what 2020 was, just a total strange offseason between the two New York teams.
Congratulate you though. I mean, I was texting immediately.
Yeah.
The first person I texted was Michael Brizzi. I just said, congratulations, one.
Oh, yeah.
How long have you guys waited for something like that to like go command the best player in a trade like that at his position? And I was upset you didn't end up with George Springer, because I thought McCann, Lindor, and Springer up the middle would have just been such a reinforcement for you guys. But
yeah, the Springer, my first reaction was like very, very much a disappointment. But then you think about the Mets, they're a team loaded with corner outfielders. So out of those 6 years in Toronto, how many of them is Springer actually going to be playing a center field that's better than what Brandon Nimmo does?
I know you're right. You know you're right about that too. It's just a matter of, for a 1 year, you're going into 2021 loaded with talent. You're the Jake's prime right now. Give that guy the best supporting cast on the field.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the baseball equivalent of war crimes, what the Wilpons did to DeGrom's prime and what Artie Moreno has done to Mike Trout's prime, depriving them of World Series, is something that's a war crime for baseball.
It's terrible. And frankly, I as we were talking about the Yankees, I see a lot of that potential for Garrett Cole. Okay, yeah, the Yankees are always going to have a stacked name brand lineup, but I don't necessarily see them as a winning team. And the same argument that you just made about Springer, I say this all the time about Stanton. Don't get Stanton lit it up in the playoffs, bro. Obviously, he's going to do that. Get hot, hit 7 home runs in a week sometimes, and it just happened to be the right week.
Yep.
That was great. But the long-term projection on that contract is just a disaster. Can you picture the meme of? Do you remember when the Derek Jeter ass-eating scandal came out?
Yes, and we're not going to edit that out. We'll keep that going.
But if you could picture the meme or like whatever they put in the New York Post of Derek Jeter like bent over, like that's what he did to Cashman when he elicited this trade for Giancarlo Stanton, and it's just egregious. So that's why you tell me about DJ LeMahieu. It's more of the same. We're going to phase out these old players. DJ's, 6 years, I don't necessarily want to know what he's going to do. So,
but I mean, you take that rotation, right? You compare it to what like the Blue Jays have. They have a bunch of guys who what you're sort of going to get, but they're like ceiling isn't what the ceiling for the Yankees could get out of those guys. So the Yankees are like, they're taking a bigger risk, but the reward could be much higher.
The Blue Jays are an interesting case because that core infield of like ex-major league, names that that infield is going to be so good for so long. Like Bo Bichette's, from a personality standpoint, I don't know if Bo Bichette and I would get along, and I'm sure Empire Sports, since you have such a following, I'm sure this will get back to Bo. And Bo, if you hear me, I don't think we'd be friends. But like, he's a hell of a shortstop. That kid's good. And I think more and more the Blue Jays youth is going to round it far. I thought the Ryu signing was great for them too.
Yeah, they really need a stabilizing arm.
Yeah, and ultimately, I wouldn't be shocked if Bauer ended up there too. It seems like they're spending money. One of the few teams that are spending money.
Yeah, and it surprised me that they jumped on the Kirby Yates sweepstakes so quickly. It seemed like their main focus was Springer and Bauer, but I think it's going to be a real interesting competition at the top two of that division. And you can't really forget about the Rays either. I mean, they traded Blake Snell, but somehow they're going to get Doug Jones from the gas station to it's like a 3.5 ERA.
You're so right. Now, the thing with the Rays, as close to the Rays as I am, they are good and were good for the reasons all of the most recent, like, notable World Series real contending teams were. When you get into those long 7-game series, you have to do what the Astros did, and what the Rays were able to do, which is stack 3 ace starting pitchers on top of one another, and then bring Glasnow into the 5th inning of Game 7. Like that's the thing that makes me afraid as a Yankee fan. So we've got one guy who could do that, but for last year, I mean, the Rays had 3 guys. You know, you could have said you had these 3 horses, because I consider Morton one of those guys who they like everything. And Charlie Morton has proven that, like, you put him on the mound in playoffs, the dude just lights out. I mean, he's one of the lowest playoff ERAs in history. So I don't know. I think if anyone takes a big dip this year, it's gonna be the Rays. Because how many times? Because you just said it. Dan, how many times can you take Doug Jones from the gas station and turn him into like a legitimate 8th inning guy? Like it seems like they.
Yeah, and it seems like they're sort of. I don't want to say I like their game plan, but sometimes they were too stuck on it. Like we saw it in the World Series, how even though Nick Anderson was struggling a little bit, they just kept throwing him in there in big spots, and the Dodgers ended up getting to him. They got to him in the series prior with the Astros, so it's a lot for them to handle.
I'm thrilled the Dodgers finally won, by the way. How close have they been? For how long? Finally. You know?
Yeah, they right at the tipping. It's like Kershaw was like LeBron before he got his ring, where he was there. He was the greatest of his generation. And finally, he does it dominantly too. He didn't just ride on the coattails either.
I was going to say he pitched well too. So that was the big thing, obviously, as we know about him. But no, he pitched well. Really happy for him. Happy for the franchise too, because they did what I think we are encouraged. Because listen, we've got some teams right now. I don't know how closely. I was just looking. We've got some teams right now with payrolls that are like $38-40 million. Yeah. I know, right? They've got 39 guys on the roster. They got to build it out. But the Dodgers spent the money. They put that team in prime time all the time. It seems like every time I looked up on a Sunday night, it was the Dodgers, someone on ESPN. And then it was, so you have to reward that, because if teams keep going like the Tampa Bay Rays do, the sport's going to disappear with the MLS. That seems to be the direction that we're.
Yeah, pretty much. But we got about 4 minutes left. Let's go with fast pace. 2020 they put in a whole bunch of rule changes, the 7-inning doubleheaders, the guy on base, second base in extra innings. Is there any of those you would want to keep for 2021?
Not like the second base and extra innings at all. This is not to sound like one of these 72-year-old men calling the fan at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, but like it's a terrible degradation of kind of the rules of baseball. Listen, let's get down to it. You're asking about the rules. This is the bottom line thing. They want viewers. They want to speed the game up. They want to make it more interesting. We are rewarding players with big contracts who hit 40 home runs and strike out 220 times. Okay, so we're going the way that we incentivize players and the way that we allow the game to be played with these dramatic shifts. Frankly, it leads to a lot of ground ball outs, leads to a lot of strikeouts, leads to a lot of long innings. So you can't do that and then at the same time put a man on second base in the 10th inning. That doesn't make any sense. You're a purist. Think about that.
If I were to bring it back, I would severely modify it to the point where before each game you got to write on your roster, your lineup card, these 8 guys, these are my relievers for the day. If we get to extra innings where now I'm bringing in my last guy, then we can do it. But that'll be like in the 16th, the 15th and beyond, maybe. Yeah. But I don't want it the first inning of extra innings.
I follow you, but I think back to my own child. Like some of my favorite memories are watching like John Ryan Murphy pitching in like the 17th. You know what I mean? Like that's ultimately for the TV revenue. That's just the way that the game is, and we've made it this far with the rules the way that they are, and now suddenly with this insurgence of the NBA and people like the fast cookie action. Right. It seems very reactive. We're kind of quickly back pace in a way that we shouldn't. I don't like any of it. I'd also, frankly, this is old. I'd get rid of replay. Can you?
Interesting.
How bad is it? Bang, bang, play it first. Safe. Oh, no, wait a second. Well, let's stand around for 2 minutes. And this is what I don't understand. We're going to have our umpires who are trained umpires call an office in Secaucus, New Jersey, rather than look at the footage themselves.
Exactly.
Does that make any sense at all?
Not only that, they couldn't have people in the stadium that within 30 seconds or 15 seconds, the same way each team has someone looking at this to make the decision, they should be able to do it in a flash just like that.
I think about to that point. I think about the NFL, where an NFL sometimes when they're running like a hurry up offense, it's going quick.
Yeah.
We've got a doctor who can identify from the fourth whether someone's got a concussion, some guy that just rolled over, and in 6 seconds can tell you the thing. We can diagnose concussions from the stands, but we can't get a safer out call at first base done in less than 2 minutes. That's the thing that takes time. Okay, don't put it around.
Exactly.
Put a replay. That's my take on that.
No, that's a very valid take, and I will say that the replay is sometimes it feel like it hasn't revolutionized. It hasn't gotten to a point where it's a fast-paced thing. You see it in the NBA too. They've had it even longer, and it still takes 4.5 minutes when there's 20 seconds left in the game to figure out who's got the basketball.
Yeah, right. In a 27-point blowout, we're standing around with 18.
Yeah,
we see that too much. Too much.
Yeah. But last thing before we end it here, I said earlier, an OG member of the Stony Brook Club baseball team. What is your number one memory and I think it'll pretty much put in good context so that people who weren't around the club, what the experience was like there.
Man. It's hard to give you one. Really, the narrative, the story arc, because this is what I do for a living, is I tell stories like an arc. That is what I like about the Stony Brook Club Baseball Club. From 7 kids who couldn't organize, who were using like rubber bases on that turf, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
Sporting goods baseballs, to have over the course of 4 or 5 years organized the way that you guys have is something that I'm immensely proud, and I know that a lot of us who are kind of feel the same way, to have handed over to you, and you in your generation did such an excellent job with it. But really, more than anything, in all seriousness, it became a place, a social destination. And you know how it is. Baseball is important, but when you're going to college, you're away from home. What you want is the comfort of having a nice group a reliable group of friends, nice people who you have shared interests with. And Stony Brook Baseball Club was that for, as we go on, dozens and dozens and dozens of undergrads at this great state university that we attended. So just being a part of the team that laid the groundwork for that is something that I'm very proud of. And frankly, it's something that I talk about even professionally now as I go out and do my thing. They ask me about team building or leadership experience or anything of that sort. This is one of the first places I go. And it will be for you too, and I hope a lot of the other guys as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? We got to take that entire story you just put out there. We got to send it to them. Got to send it to the university, because that is like the campaign message, right? You just gave right there for the team.
And none of it is, and you can attest, none of it is false. Yeah. And
right.
It was so great. It was just so organic. We never set out with the goal to make it what it is now. It really just became. It just happened. We kind of stumbled through the just pure childhood love of baseball, which is the thing that binds us together.
That's exactly why we come together. That's why everyone comes together to play the game. But now that we are done for now, I do this for every guest. I'm giving you 15 uninterrupted seconds. You can make it could be a sports take. It could be, we had a past guest talk about how Elf was the worst Christmas movie ever. But 15 seconds, 15 seconds, and you get any take you want. The floor is yours when you're ready.
You've got the Buffalo Bills right now at plus 300 to win the Super Bowl. Take it for as much as you can afford to let go. I think they're going to blow the Chiefs out this week. I think they're going to roll past, even whether it's the Packers, but especially if it's Tom Brady. Take the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Go into the piggy bank, sneak into your mother's purse, maybe dip into the old 401k if you've been working for a couple of years. If your girlfriend's asleep, turn her pants upside down. Find some cash around the house and go in on the Bills. I'm very high on the Bills. I'm going to be riding and dying with the Bills the next couple of weeks.
You know what? That is, their offense has been booming. It has been, Allen has been tremendous. Stephon Diggs. It has been, if I was a gambling man, I would take that advice. I'll tell you that much.
I am, and I do. You got behind me the Amex. I got Francisco Molinari, 80-1. Okay.
Wow.
It's off the lead right now. So if he wins, I might go off the grid. You may never hear from me again.
But that is a terrific take. Good luck with that bet, though. That's 80-1. Those are great odds to make a lot of money there. But that is it for this week's edition of Upfront Takes. I can't thank Malcolm enough. Great guest, terrific job on here. Give us a follow at SportsUpFront_. Give us that's on Facebook, that's on Twitter, that's on Instagram, and we got TikTok for the young kids too. So Malcolm, thank you.
Venmo also, Dan, just in case.
Yeah. If you want to Venmo me, it's Daniel Marcillo. That's all one word. I'll be happy to take any donations as I am an unemployed gentleman. But again, thank you, Malcolm. All right, this is a great episode.